In today's iGaming market, staffing is a very hot topic. Competition for the available talent is fierce. To tell us more about finding and retaining staff, we have here with us today Chris Gyere, who is Head of Tech Recruitment at Pentasia and Headcount. Chris, I think we're all very interested in the information that you'll be sharing. The floor until the lunch is yours.
Thank you, Willem.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Hello. First time here, so thank you for having me, and I'll try not to take too long before lunch. So to follow on from what David said, the European market holds most of the talent and knowledge globally. Spain has a large industry and employs a large number of talented professionals. I can't start without mentioning COVID. We saw a big change in the employment off the back of COVID. It showed that many jobs can be carried out remotely, employees can be trusted, but now we are seeing more of a shift towards office-based working. However, some are reluctant to go back. Others are happy to, but many aren't. What we are seeing that companies who are enforcing 5 days a week in the office are perhaps losing out on talent compared to companies that are offering full remote or hybrid. So salaries. We're currently in a candidates market. Salaries have gone up. Candidates are not short of options. So employers need to recognize that there need to be an attractive proposition in order to attract the right talent. Development opportunities. Professionals with drive and passion want to further themselves, not only for the benefit of the company, but inevitably themselves. If a company is willing to enroll them on various courses or push them for leadership roles, they're more likely to take the opportunity over a role that doesn't provide these things. Don't forget, you're not competing with companies from inside and outside the industry and inside and outside Spain, but it's important to offer as much as you can, especially to attract passive candidates. Employee value proposition. What is your total package? Are you offering bonuses to high achievers? Are you offering share options to top high level? Are you offering competitive pay? A positive work-life balance, remote work, hybrid work, flexible work, and career development opportunities. Why would a candidate choose your company over another? Candidates are often, as mentioned, choosing hybrid or flex over full-time. And then brand reputation is important in the market. Having a positive reputation as an employer is of great benefit. But in this market, you need to engage candidates with perhaps another level. Company values, ensuring that your company values align with candidates' personal values. Do you have a diversity, equity, inclusion statement in place? What kind of culture do you have in the office? And is it open to everyone? Younger candidates are starting to take notice of companies' values, and if they don't align, sometimes salary and benefits won't cut it. Candidates want to see companies acknowledging where they may be deficient and doing what they can to improve the lives of their employees, but also generating a positive impact on the industry and environment around them. Another thing that we're seeing is competition from LATAM. The costs are cheaper in LATAM to hire, so we are seeing companies moving over to South America to build teams there. So that's another thing we're competing with. Achieving operational success. Spain is a big one for payroll. Unlike other workers in Europe, where B2B, business to business proposition is very lucrative, it isn't as lucrative for candidates in Spain. So payroll is what employees are looking for. So elsewhere in Europe, candidates can benefit from a lower tax rate. In Spain, that's not necessarily the case. They have to file their own taxes, use accountants, whereas somebody on a payroll, everything is done for you. Because they don't have as good a rate as the tax on B2B and have to pay for these extra services, a lot of them won't consider it. However, some at the top end, the highly skilled guys and girls, are interested in doing that and will work on a B2B basis. Another one we're seeing a lot of recently is employer of record. Companies don't necessarily need to have an entity in Spain. They can use a company that provides a payroll service that gives Spanish people a full Spanish contract with benefits without the need for a physical presence in Spain. It's become a very cost-effective method of employing in Spain as well as other countries. And then companies in other countries, US for example, are happy to poach talent from Spain and can do this with ease using the employer of record, and are often happy to offer much higher salaries because it's still a lower salary compared to what they would be paying in their country of operation. Due to Brexit, we're seeing less relocation of Brits, and this has affected obviously Gibraltar as well. Whereas you could move Brits around in the past, it's more difficult to do so, but we are seeing people able to relocate and keen to relocate from elsewhere in Europe, especially from the colder regions to enjoy the climate here in Spain. For talent in Spain, obviously the main hubs are Madrid and Barcelona, but we have seen a big increase in Malaga and the surrounding area, Marbella and Sevilla, for example. We're also seeing companies moving into places like Valencia and Murcia, as well as other smaller cities and towns around Spain and in the northwest as well. Salaries are still comparatively lower in the smaller towns and cities, and as well, younger talent can often be tempted away from the smaller areas, smaller towns, to relocating to the major cities. Salary information. Following on from the IGB Pentasia salary survey, this year's headline figure of 12.5% salary growth in the industry worldwide reflects the increasingly competitive nature of the talent market. In some instances, for example, within compliance, salaries have risen 28% or more in the last year. The high growth mode of the sector means that demand is higher than ever before. This doesn't necessarily mean that every role requires a 12.5% uplift. Some roles will receive less, some more. But the most important takeaway is that overall we are in a candidates market. This can notably be seen by active engagement in passive candidates who are inundated with approaches from companies and recruiters. Although this group of candidates isn't actively looking for a new job, they can be persuaded with a serious uplift in salary amongst other benefits. It's important to remember that in some sectors, such as tech and data, our gaming companies are not only competing against each other, but other industries and other geographies as well. Obviously, with the US legalizing, we're seeing a lot of US companies picking up talent in Europe. Ceuta and Melilla. So, as mentioned with Brexit, we're seeing less and less activity in Gibraltar and a lot more difficulty in finding and attracting talent there, which means a vast source of talent has moved from that area. And what we are seeing is an uptick in locations like Ceuta and Melilla. Although they are not part of mainland Spain, Ceuta in particular can be attractive because it is very close to Spain and people can take the ferry over, meaning that employees can return to mainland on the weekends if they are from the south of Spain, or decide even to live on the mainland and commute over. Melilla does not necessarily have this luxury as much and requires a more permanent move for people to move over there. Fortunately for Ceuta and Melilla, not being part of the mainland gives some perks. One of the main reasons is tax. Not only do companies benefit from lower tax, the employees do as well. And this is something that can be very attractive for employees. A lot of companies 34 companies in the industry have physical offices in Ceuta alone. So it's clear that it's possible to make it work. One thing we are seeing is that people are interested in a step up to move to a higher position in Ceuta, perhaps stay there for a couple of years before taking the next step in their career. And then another aspect is utilizing local talent for roles that are at a more junior level. So hybrid work models and some issues. So career visibility. Employees want to have internal praise for their work and also receive promotions and bonuses. Even though employees prefer hybrid over being in the office, they're also aware of the chances of gaining promotion is lower than perhaps a colleague who's in the office full time. Being able to ease employees' fears over potential overlooking results in a happier workforce. Upskilling management. Management has historically been used to looking after their teams in the office. That came with visibility, interactions. Management need to be trained in how to look after a team remotely, as it varies greatly from being in the office. Trusting employees to carry out their work without constant micromanaging and contact is crucial. So it's important to lay out communication preferences, letting employees know how they like to keep in contact whilst working from home, but also having the self-awareness to take into account how the employees wish to be communicated with. Setting boundaries. As home becomes part of the workplace, setting boundaries are essential. From a management side, they must be encouraged not to contact employees outside of work hours unless deemed an emergency. This is a law, as remote employees are entitled to disconnect from the workplace, desconexión digital, at the end of the workday. Employers also don't enjoy being micromanaged, especially this is from the comfort of their home. The Royal Decree Law 28/2020, effective from the 13th of October 2020, the new legal framework for remote work in Spain has resulted in employers being liable for expenses incurred by employees working remotely. This means that the rights of the remote hybrid employees will be equal to those working in person at the workplace in terms of wages, scheduling, professional advancement, as well as the expenses associated with setting up a home office. This law, although written with the well-being of employees in mind, perhaps has had the opposite effect. Companies may no longer offer hybrid working conditions as they cannot afford to pay equipment for both the offices as well as employees' home. Social connections. Teams of the past were able to develop personal connections in the workplace, a quick chat over a coffee, for example. Those don't happen when you're all remote. They didn't necessarily have to become friends, but having a rapport in person could be easily struck up through the office, which would inevitably improve team morale and performance. Teams being hybrid, they're spending less time together and having a smaller chance of building these relationships. Doing this can be incredibly difficult over video calls, but in hybrid teams it must be done. Managers also play a crucial role here, whereby their social interactions with the team individually and as a collective depend on them. Having formal or informal social interactions, such as sharing what they did at the weekend and offering an ear when they're having issues in the workplace, help create trust throughout the team. And then lastly, employee well-being. Hybrid working conditions are often always mentioned with the words such as flexibility, work-life balance, and workplace culture. Introducing hybrid work invites employees to think about how their life outside of work can be benefited by their workplace. Employees are increasingly asking employers for mental health resources to help deal with stress, offering flexible work packages, as well as health insurance packages. Supporting the whole person rather than the employee has become a key component of talent retention and acquisition. Thank you.
Chris, thank you very much. I guess we have to leave the questions for Chris during lunch. There's an hour, 20 minutes for that. When you do that, and when you're here with your employer today or with your employees, two things to consider during your lunch break. One, you have to go back to your office. Two, you can ask more money. Have a nice lunch.
Thank you.
Thank you.